Amanda over here. Amanda, don't blow bubbles.
Did you get a swing?
Oh, wow.
You got that.
Nonna.
Oh, that's a good swing.
Wow.
That's a good swing. That is. Daddy's going to have to look it up.
Aubrey.
That's a good time.
Aubrey.
Come on, show mommy. Show mommy. Hold on, Kenneth. Did you get a swing on the garden? Another call.
Yep. Who's in there? Where's the rat?
Oh, look at your baby. Look at your baby, Nana got you. There you are. Oh, love the baby.
Oh.
Love her. Oh, sweet baby. Oh, she loves the baby.
Oh.
Sweet baby. Aubrey. Here, Ron, it's your turn to love the baby. Aubrey. Yeah, Dad. Is that ringing? I don't know if it's Hey, Aubrey, love on the baby. McKenna.
There might be a bomb in the school, maybe.
A reported bomb threat. A dangerous gas leak.
This is Ed Sullivan. I want that building evacuated.
Also know you squeeze in north of Morris Street. Then, a nearby building collapses from the day's damage.
You are watching Building 7 at the World Trade Center collapse.
Amid the destruction and devastation, though, one remarkable thing did happen. Today's tragedy brought out the best in a city not always known for its kindness and humanity. 3 hours after the attack, area residents have put out an open call for volunteers to search the rubble for any signs of possible survivors.
You need a volunteer? You're a laborer, you're a plumber, you're an electrician.
Aubrey Garland.
Stay with you guys. They're medical.
It's May 11th, 2001. What are you doing? While the world has been changed.
These volunteers say there is just one thing they want. Something uniquely New York. Street justice.
Aubrey Garland, I don't think you're supposed to be on that table, are you? Excuse me.
Especially in New York City, and especially among those coordinating rescue efforts. 60 Minutes was installed, and it's that story. Listening?
Dan, ever since the Cold War, the federal government has had an elaborate plan to keep the government running if the Soviets ever attacked Washington. Over a year ago, I spoke with then President Clinton's counterterrorism guard.
Come on. Come over here and play. Come over here and play.
We thought that things which we were breathing in Washington, and we knew perhaps all of that, was still from under attack.
It was difficult at first, especially when I found out there were crews involved, and when I found it was United, it was even more so. But the whole thing has been very difficult. I've been busy most of the day and haven't seen an awful lot of it. But what I have seen is just the word everybody uses, horrific, and it's a very emotional thing for anyone.
Al Haynes, thank you very much for being with us.
Aubrey.
When you landed that plane in City, Iowa, as the United Airlines plane that lost most of its control.
Aubrey.
Able to bring it in a cold crash landing. They did lose some of the passengers, obviously, but any number of them were saved as a result of his great skills. In the cockpit, we want to show you some remarkable scenes now from inside Air Force One. This is the fighter jet escort that Air Force One had as it flew back to Washington today from the Strategic Air Command headquarters at Offutt Air Force Base. That may become a routine procedure for the president as he flies domestically in this country as well as internationally. It's not always a conspicuous presence. You generally have planes when you're flying with the president over disputed areas that are in the vicinity, but you don't see them flying that closely off the wing of Air Force One. They're on their approach now to Andrews Air Force Base. That's an F-16, I think I can only see one tail sticking up, so I think it's an F-16 that helps escort them back.
This is Clint.
Hutton and his associates, if we determine they're the cause of this, my guess is that the intercepts you were describing earlier, and I've heard other reports that those intercepts do indicate bin Laden's lieutenant.
Women dogs.
That's what it takes to convince governments that they cannot harbor people who kill thousands of Americans.
Mr. Gingrich, let me ask you, you said a formal declaration of war against who?
I think against bin Laden,
which had to be evacuated today, are reopening for essential personnel tonight and will be open for business tomorrow. While financial institutions remain strong.
Watch this.
In November, the team plans on having the complete results of their research. Sometime that month, they will hold a seminar.
Self-defense laws, our nation has self-defense.
Response.
Stand there, two up.
very little, I assure you.
Doctors, nurses, medical supplies are still coming into this triage center, but they're still organizing. And as far as we can tell, they have not yet brought a single patient in from ground zero. Attack. Brian?
Is one of the things we've had difficulty getting here at the Pentagon with firm numbers of how many people might have been injured or killed in the crash. Of course, we know that everybody aboard that plane died in the crash, but it was unclear how many people might have been penetrating 3 of the 5 rings of the Pentagon on the south side. It is a remarkable testament to the architects of this building that the Pentagon continues to operate, that the military is being directed from this building even now and never actually ended their function of doing that. The nation is at DEFCON threat Delta, which is the highest military threat that you can have. Washington, D.C. is being patrolled. We don't see them, but just outside the perimeter of Washington, there are military aircraft patrolling the skies to make sure that there are no more aircraft headed this way. But here at the Pentagon, the most important news we have heard in the last few minutes is that the Arlington County Fire Chief is now estimating that between 1 and 800 people may have died here at the Pentagon. Back to you, Linda.
Brian Wilson, just keep us up to speed on what is happening in the basement. You've mentioned it just briefly.
The show's...
What?
John, that guy needs some oxygen. If someone can share it with him. 10-4. Thanks. They told me just to wait here. It's semi-shaking area. That's what I'm doing. They won't let me go any closer. No one can go in to get the people out. There's small explosions still going on. So far, it seems that people are needing oxygen from the dust. There was one trauma.
5 minutes later, an unprecedented fear sweeps Washington. 10:05, the U.S. government, now fearing an all-out attack, even evacuates the White House. Presidential staffers are moved quickly out of the very core of the nation's capital. Now, at 10:10, the 4th plane crashes. A United Airlines 757, Flight 93 from Newark to San Francisco with 45 aboard, suddenly disappears from the radar and disintegrates as it crashes near Johnstown, Pennsylvania. 15 minutes later, at 10:29, all U.S. civilian air travel goes to ground. International flights to the U.S. are diverted to Canada. Canadian airports start receiving scores of airliners that soon crowd the tarmacs. In New York, desperate attempts are being made to save those trapped in the remaining North Tower. Often, little can be done. Then at 10:29, the drumbeat of calamity reaches its peak. Incredibly, the North Tower of the Trade Center also collapses. In this aftermath, people scarcely believe their eyes. An event so threatening that shortly after 11 a.m., much of Manhattan is evacuated. Amid scenes that seem almost out of science fiction. As it absorbed the terrorist strike after strike this morning, the government of the United States went on a virtual war footing. The president even commanding for a time from a bunker prepared during the Cold War for nuclear combat.
Don't pull it.
And probably not since Pearl Harbor has America felt more directly threatened or more fiercely determined to strike back. In just 2.5 hours, from that first takeoff in Boston to the collapse of the second tower, the United States and the world were changed in ways that are still uncounted and surely still incalculable. For the National, I'm Brian Stewart.
We go back to New York now, once again for that shot, the nighttime skyline shot of New York City, now minus the two towers, the World Trade Center. More reports coming out tonight now of people trapped in the rubble using cell phones to call family members, pleading with support and asking for rescue efforts, which are underway at this hour, but they're still fighting fires to get anywhere near the rubble. One man caught under the rubble.
Public coming and helping us.
Actually did get on those flights. The United hotline is 1-800-932.
People recovered. And this for that, and that's what you're allowed to do?
From the Oval Office. What did you make of it?
I thought his speech was very well done. I'm not sure that this kind of event, I think, in many ways escapes words. And I think he got to the heart of the matter. Sense of leadership, but I think he also touched on the fact that...
As you wake up tomorrow morning, I'm sure you have no sense of what that day will be like that awaits you, but give us a preview of what you think it might be like.
Yeah, I mean, just walking down to getting off the subway and looking at the World Trade Center for basically the last 18 to 19 years, every day, it's just not there anymore. And walking up the West Side Highway, just turning around on a continuous basis, it was just not there anymore. You just seeing this bellowing smoke.
It's so eerie out there right now, and one of the things that I was impressed by today is that there was a plea made for people to donate blood. And I went late this morning to donate blood, and the lines were wrapped around the block. And I told at some hospitals there were 4- and 5-hour waits.
I believe it was the Tower 1. There was nothing really there, but 10, maybe 5 or 6 stories of debris, and we slowly climbed over as much as we could and started searching for people that might have been on surface, and
Do survive.
Now this face will always be remembered. Stands is about 200 of your colleagues.
We were assuming it would be a large amount.
A shower of dust and debris crashes to the ground. The collapse traps possibly hundreds of emergency workers and civilians in the rubble.
MSNBC's Ashley Banfield was briefly trapped in a nearby building.
We were only about 2 blocks, it was about 2 blocks away from where the second tower came down, and when that cloud came at us, Brian, it was the most frightening thing I think I've ever seen in my life. And at the time, we were trying to breathe through our clothing, and we couldn't. And we had to break down a door to an apartment building. We had to kick in the glass to try to get through to the second glass door to get in, just to get air. And when we emerged, it was like Mount St. Helens had gone off in the middle of New York.
I don't know that I'm really able to describe it. It was the most horrific scene. The same. People's desperately trying to get to them, but having to fight fires and
Aubrey.
gas problems to get there. They know they're alive because cell phone calls have been made to families. CBS reporting in the United States now that in Washington, anywhere between 100 to 800 bodies may be trapped inside the Pentagon building, also the target of a hijacked aircraft earlier today. And finally, this information on U.S. military maneuvers. The USS Enterprise, originally in the Persian Gulf, had started to head back towards the Atlantic in the last couple of days.
Homes, as well as some may only be post office boxes, I am told. They are basing the information on the request for a search warrant on
Aubrey.
information coming from passenger manifests of the aircraft involved, among other information they have by talking to various other sources. I am told, quote, we are looking at South Florida ties to some of the people that we're looking at. When I asked if they are looking at names on the manifest that may only turn out to be passengers, I was told, no, we are basing our search warrants on more information than that.
Aubrey.
They are looking at more than one location, I am told, in South Florida, as well as other
Aubrey.
locations in Central and or North Florida, including Daytona Beach. Well,
Susan Candiotti in Miami, thank you very much. And our Jonathan Carl, our congressional correspondent, has been talking.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Get that car in the background, that'll be nice.
Yeah. Where are you headed to, Aubrey? Where are you headed to?
Where's your tom-tom? Where's your tom-tom?
You better hurry and catch him. Good one. You know how, don't you? You better not be messing with Sebastian. He'll get you. I know, it's been bothering my neck already. When y'all were out there, I think the sun might have been too bright. But I don't know. Don't fall in the hole. Aubrey. Yeah. Whoops, I got behind the pole. You gonna hold on? You're such a good girl.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You better come here. Miss Clark's gonna pull in the drive.
Tucker, get over here. It's your neighbor. Uh-oh. Tucker!
He's such an idiot.
Any extra hamburgers tonight? Oh. Where's that grass? Where's that grass? Hmm? Where's that grass? Oh boy. Say, that's all, folks.
She was in the water.
Okay, let's go see where Aubrey Garland is. Her Mimi and Papa brought her home. Poor girl was so tired she fell asleep in her car seat. There she is. Mimi and Papa wore her out. Hi, Tucker. Hi, Tucker. What are you doing, boy? What's Aubrey Garland doing? Is she sleeping, Tucker? Goodness. Back to sleep she goes. Aubrey Garland.
Trick or treat.
Hey, you better look here, you little kitty cat.
Trick or treat. Ooh, that light is bright. Tucker. You want to love Tucker? Aubrey, can you tell Daddy Happy Halloween? Oh.
Hey.
Aubrey, can you tell Daddy trick or treat? Tell Daddy trick or treat.
Aubrey Garland. Aubrey. Hey. You're too cranky.